Tier list videos. Wow, what a crazy trend we've been seeing this past week or so. I feel like I'm seeing nothing but tier list here on YouTube, and you know what? Here's another one. I'm not too proud to jump on a trend, and this is actually kind of a cool one because, you know, people like things in order and list, and people like to hear opinions about stuff. So today I'm going to do a tier list video for Blizzard games. I grew up with these things through my adolescence, and they're also kind of a core foundation of my YouTube channel here. I've played them all, and I love them, and we're gonna rank them. So let's start off, I'm gonna go back to really early, kind of the beginning. Blizzard had some games prior to this list too, but, you know, largely forgettable. When people think about Blizzard games, it's basically starting with Warcraft, Diablo, and Starcraft. So let's start with the very first one, Warcraft 1, Warcraft, Orcs, and Humans. Now, this is a good game, and, you know, it started the Warcraft franchise, but I don't know that I could put this in an A or S tier when compared to the other Warcraft games that are on this list that we're going to be talking about. You know, Blizzard games by and large are at least like C tier and above compared to all games. But when you compare Blizzard games to themselves, I think the first Warcraft is actually, I'm going to stick it in the we'll go with the B tier for Warcraft. This list is subject to change as we go through it. Warcraft 2, I would put above the first Warcraft. I have better memories of playing Warcraft 2. I just think all around it felt like a much more fleshed out, fun game, a better experience. And now that I'm looking at Warcraft 2 in the A tier, I feel like even that's too high because we still have Warcraft 3 and World of Warcraft. Yeah, I'm gonna move them. I'm gonna put Warcraft down to C. We're gonna put Warcraft 2 in B tier. I think that's a pretty good start. So Warcraft 3, this is probably the best of the Warcraft RTS games. I think without a doubt. It might even possibly be an S tier. I'm gonna go with A for now. I think for Warcraft 3 we'll go for A. I mean, like Warcraft 3 in itself, awesome RTS. I don't know that it really stacks up against Starcraft in the RTS pantheon. I mean, it's certainly really good, but I think Starcraft, in fact, we'll just do this now. Starcraft's going in the S tier, okay? Starcraft 1, it's still like a popular esport today. It's crazy. Starcraft 1 is also better than Starcraft 2. I think that goes without question. So in fact, let's go ahead and put Starcraft 2 on this list. I think B, like, it was a good game, but I feel like it died pretty fast in comparison to a lot of the other Blizzard games here on this list. I feel like StarCraft 2 kind of had, it was a big spike and then a really hard drop after that. It's unfortunate, but StarCraft 1 definitely S tier. Like, the memories that I have with this game, it's just so good. It's such a good game. In many ways, it kind of pushed the esports scene forward. I mean, obviously there was a lot of great like shooter esports games in the early years, but StarCraft I think is one of the pinnacle games when we think about esports. Again, to this day, I'm pretty sure it's still being played. In many ways, I think is better than StarCraft 2. And Warcraft 3, again, I think definitely belongs in A. You could almost put it in S, especially with the custom game maker and the fact that it spawned a whole genre of MOBAs with Defense of the Ancients. But again, I don't think Warcraft 3 really stacks up if you put it next to StarCraft. So I'm gonna keep StarCraft in the S, Warcraft 3 in the A. And what else we got here? The other Diablo games. What am I doing? Well, let's just start off with the first one, Diablo 1. Diablo 1 was a really good game. It obviously launched the Diablo franchise, which is great. But again, I don't think it stacks up against the sequel of Diablo 2. So for Diablo 1, we're just gonna put it in the A tier. The Diablo 1 music, amazing. The whole experience of that game is very, again, like with StarCraft, there's such fond memories from my childhood with Diablo 1. But when you bring Diablo 2 into the picture, this is clearly an S tier game. Almost all of my gaming friends were obsessed with Diablo 2. It's one of the first games that I can think of with people that I know spending thousands of hours playing it. And there's so much great behind Diablo 2's grind, the loot experience, but then also the PvP that they had really added a lot of longevity to the game. So when you're looking at Diablo 1 and Diablo 2, I think Diablo 2 is definitely S tier. Diablo 1, we'll just keep that in A. Diablo 3, damn, I know it's the most recent, but I kind of just want to put Diablo 3 in the B tier because Diablo 3 is probably better than Diablo 1. So I'm going to move Diablo 1 down to A. at B. We're gonna move Diablo 1 down to B, and I think Diablo 3 really does belong in A. Even though I didn't play it as much as I played Diablo 2, I can acknowledge that with time, the game just got better and better. Also, obviously, like, I'm omitting expansions and stuff here. Like, when you look at Warcraft 3, you're like, well, what about Frozen Throne? I'm kind of thinking about the whole picture when we're ranking these games. And Diablo 3, I think, overall is a much better game than Diablo 1, even though Diablo 1 has that nostalgia to it. But at the same time, I still don't think Diablo 3 stacks up to Diablo 2. I just think Diablo 2 is better. All right. Now we're gonna start to get hairy here. These games. All right, so let's just start off with Heroes of the Storm. Now, on one hand, you could say Heroes of the Storm includes all of the Blizzard games, so it should be an S tier. I'm just fucking around. Heroes of the Storm, I liked Heroes of the Storm. I played it a lot for like a year, but compared to other Blizzard games, it's down here. I'm just gonna stick it in the E tier. It feels like, in a lot of ways, even though it's a good, polished game like Blizzard games are, it feels like almost a failed experiment. They like tried to come into the MOBA game, but a little bit too late, and they did carve out their own little corner of the market, and the dedicated Blizzard fan base liked it, and it's a good game. This tier list is comparing Blizzard games to Blizzard games. All Blizzard games are like B, A, and S tier compared to the entirety of games that are out there, even the entirety of good games that are out there. But if I'm looking at Blizzard games and comparing them to themselves, I gotta put Heroes of the Storm in the lower tier. It's not that the game is bad, it's just that it feels kind of like a failed experiment, something they really tried to make work. They were really pushing esports, and it just didn't end up happening. And speaking of them pushing esports, Overwatch, like, I covered Overwatch nonstop for like 2 years, so we're not gonna pretend that I think Overwatch is a bad game. But again, do I think Overwatch is as good as Starcraft 1 or Diablo 2? Do I think it's as good as Diablo 3 or Warcraft 3? Not really. I kind of want to stick it in like B or C tier. I guess B tier would be good. I'm skewing way too high to the top of this tier list. I feel like I'm being way too generous. But I mean, yes, I loved Overwatch. I played a lot of Overwatch, but I don't think it belongs in A or S. I'm sorry. I don't think it belongs in A or S. I think it's a good game, but I don't think it had like the impact that the S and A tier Blizzard games had. We're gonna go to World of Warcraft next. This is an S tier game. In fact, I think I could drag this entire list. I'm just gonna do it. Fuck it. Create more of a bell curve. I'm gonna drag this entire list down. You're gonna call me crazy. People are gonna call me crazy, but hear me out on this one. This is not to diminish the quality of those games, even though I just diminished the quality of them by bumping everything down a single tier. Oh yeah, that puts Heroes of the Storm in the F tier. Sorry. But World of Warcraft, it's the culmination of the Warcraft lore. You know, Warcraft 1, 2, and 3, which again, by all accounts, all great games, great franchise, people love them. But think about World of Warcraft did, and I'm not even trying, you might say, Force, you're a fucking idiot. World of Warcraft today sucks. Like, sure, maybe, cat? This is like, every time I try to make a video, the cat ruins it. Okay, fine. Maki. Listen, you can come in, but please don't make any noise, okay? I'm trying to really try. Now she's gonna come up on the desk and like, she's probably gonna start clawing at the fucking window. What was I saying? Yeah, World of Warcraft, it is the ultimate Blizzard. It's the best game that they've ever made. It is the best game that they've ever made. Now again, we're thinking about the entire picture, and you can certainly have a conversation about how World of Warcraft has gotten worse with time. Like, a lot of people don't like a lot of the new things that they've done. The player base has died over the years. It's a 15-year-old game. It's, by all accounts, it's on a downward slope right now. But we're thinking about the entire experience, and if we're thinking about the impact of these games, no single Blizzard game had the impact as large as World of Warcraft had in its prime. There's no question about that. In its prime, World of Warcraft was the most impactful Blizzard game that they've ever made. Again, you could say Starcraft and Starcraft 2, very popular, like, esports scene. Diablo 2, incredibly huge game. Warcraft 3, really, like, what, you idiot, Force, what are you talking about? But think about how, like, World of Warcraft at one point was a cultural phenomenon. It was a game that you had, like, celebrities talking about. It's not like our celebrities the end-all be-all, especially when it comes to video games. But the point of that is that it reached a point in, like, culture and society. It was their game that everyone knew about. I don't know that you could go on the street and mention Diablo, Starcraft, or Overwatch to like an average person and they would say they've heard of it. You can almost guarantee that the average layperson who isn't even interested remotely in video games has probably heard of World of Warcraft. I think that's the one thing you can't take away from the game. You know, there's all sorts of conversations we could have about where WoW is today and the decisions that they make and how that it's not right now what it was during the classic Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King days at its pinnacle. Yes, it's not there at the moment. If we're taking the entire game, everything about the game and its existence over the years, all the patches, all the changes, at its best, if we're looking at each of these games at their best, I don't think any of them touch what World of Warcraft was at its best. Not only as a gameplay experience, because you could make the argument that other games' gameplay experiences were better than WoW at its best, just the permanence of the game, how the game was able to reach out and pull in non-traditional gamers. World of Warcraft is Blizzard's the best thing that they've ever done. Not to diminish the other stuff, because I am a Blizzard fanboy. I love all Blizzard games, and it's killing me even to look at like StarCraft 2, Overwatch, Diablo, and Warcraft 2 here in C tier. But if I'm being perfectly honest and we're comparing Blizzard games to themselves, that's where this stuff belongs. And that brings us to the final one, Hearthstone. This is by all accounts, if we're just talking about the gameplay, this is like a B or an A tier game. I would say the gameplay experience compared to all the other Blizzard games is up there. It is as a game, as with the polish, the sounds, the experience, everything about playing the game is B or A tier. Monetization, it's going down in the F tier. In fact, you know what? Here's the storm. You get promoted to E. Monetization puts Hearthstone at the bottom of the barrel. Hearthstone, as a game to play, is a fun game. Hearthstone is also the only game that ever managed to get me to spend thousands of dollars. On one hand, you could say, well, Force, that is your own impulse control problem. That is your own issue. But the fact that it's a possibility and the game was designed to encourage spending potentially thousands of dollars, it's pretty shit. It's pretty shit. There's so many pure video game experiences that Blizzard has made, and Hearthstone does have a great video game experience layered on top of it with super predatory ways to try to get people to spend money. So here you go. This is my tier list. And actually, now that we've gone through and I kind of talked through the whole thing, I think this is accurate. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a pretty fair representation of all of Blizzard's games, and it kills me because so many Blizzard games, like I'm like, yeah, they're like A or S tier games compared to other games that I've played in my life. But if we're just pitting Blizzard games against Blizzard games, we got a decent looking bell curve here, and I think this is pretty accurate. People are gonna hate me for having WoW be the only S tier game. It's just, I gotta think of the whole picture. And while StarCraft and Diablo 2 are probably also in many ways S tier games, I think WoW just bumps them down. I do. So there you go. There's my tier list of all Blizzard games. Boy, oh boy, the comments section of this one's gonna be a shit show, I'm certain. But I stand by this. Yeah, this looks good. There you go, Blizzard. Make of that what you will.